What up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of the Blacktop Podcast. As you can see, the boys are all together. Now, today, we're going to talk about the All Star starters that just got announced. We're going to throw up some trade ideas with the trade deadline being like a week and a bit away. And hopefully, we got some time for some Blacktop Showdown. But before that, boys, how are we doing? How are y'all?
Oh man, tired, busy. Life is life has been crazy to start the year, but no complaints, boys.
Yeah, Ruben, man. Congrats on the promotion, brother.
Oh, thank you, sir. That's why life has been busy, but life is good at the same time.
Undies. Christian, what about you, cousin?
Yeah, doing pretty good. No complaints.
Solid. Well, let's get right into it. So, we just got, well, today we weren't thinking about talking about it, but I mean, because I think I forgot. But the All Star starters got announced. So, just to go through it, the East, we got KD, Kyrie, Giannis, who's also the captain, Donovan Mitchell, and Jason Tatum. And then for the West, we got Steph, Luca, LeBron, Jokic, and Williamson, and of course LeBron's the captain. But I mean, what are you guys' like initial thoughts? Personally, I don't know if there are any like big snubs. The big ones probably, if anything, obviously Embiid. But I think that's always been this big question of which of the three is going to get left off. Obviously, between like KD or even four, technically even KD, Giannis, Tatum, and obviously Embiid's the one on the short end of the stick. But yeah, do y'all think this is all right?
I mean, we had this conversation last time, right? We
Mhm.
we we kind of went on a tangent about this. I think there are three picks that I would have changed. Uh, yeah, three picks I would have changed between all the 10 starters. So I would have had Jaw in for Steph. Simply because Steph has been injured, right? And I think health plays a part. And um, Jaw's been having an awesome season. He's been consistent on the floor. Like he's missed a few games, but for the most part, he's been really healthy this year. And Zion's been injured, like once again, 70% of the season. Even though he's been back, I would have had. I got an interesting name for you guys. Off the top of my head, just where they're sitting, I would have had Demontis Sabonis. If I could
Ooh,
choose the starters, I would have
okay,
Sabonis start. Um, and then in the East, I would have Embiid over Kevin Durant. I mean, Kevin Durant's been playing at a high level, but obviously significant missed time all the way into the All Star break, and so I would have had Embiid in there. But if you look at this list, I don't think that you could be like, "Oh, that's a wrong list," because if you take out the whole health thing, like I think this list is pretty spot on, right? So um, it's just a debate whether or not you think Tatum or Embiid or even the other two guys, Giannis or Durant, could have been on the bench. So um, we can get into that in a separate conversation. But um,
no doubt. Yeah, I think the main thing is probably Steph, just because he's not even on like the scoring list right now because he hasn't played enough games. But you know, the kids love the chef, so I think that's probably a big reason why. Like, I would definitely say the fan vote's probably the thing that put him over the top.
always,
But yeah, I think Jaw's definitely some guy you could have thrown in there. You saw Josh Giddey obviously root for his guy, saying Shea got snubbed, which I get. Shea's, I think a lot of that comes down to recency bias, but
mm-hmm.
I think we're all in agreement here. We've always said it. Then in the All Star game, Shea's gonna cook a lot of people, so he'll get his fill for sure, no doubt. What you think, Jay?
Yeah, and I just think Shea is in the wrong conference too. Like if he was in the Eastern Conference, it'd be no doubt that he was a starter. But the the three best point guards, or like in any given time, are in the West in the last how many years? Like Curry, Doncic, Ja, and now Shea could be thrown into that mix. But really, who would you really take out of that rotation for Shea, right?
For
Like
sure.
if he was in the East, I'd replace him. Like I'd replace Kyrie or Donovan. You could take both of them out and just put Shea in. You know, but other than that, I think Tatum clears personally. I think looking at this list though specifically, I do think, and obviously it is like a marketing thing at the end of the day, but I think these are the 10 most like impactful players in terms of culture in the league right now.
Yep.
Um,
No doubt.
I do feel like
1000.
I do feel Embiid is like he's obviously like a really great player, top five in the league probably, in most opinions. But I personally think he's just not a likable player. Um,
Yeah,
and
no, it's
his game, yeah,
true fact. True fact. No, sorry, I
and
was just saying,
yeah,
like, I
and
100% agree.
no, yeah, and I think his game is just like predicated around being dominant, but there's no real like uh differential in his game. He's just like probably the most impactful like center in terms of like just being offensive. But you look at Jokic and you look at, I mean, Giannis is probably, I guess, running the five. Like these are two players that are just like God given talents compared to Embiid, in my opinion. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, I mean, yeah, Embiid's he doesn't have much of a brand, and if you talk
nope.
about his brand as a basketball player, it's free throw merchant.
He's got the weakest Siggies for sure, man.
Yeah, he's got the
Joel's
he's
signatures are
got the
definitely. I'm not.
yeah.
I'm taking Jason Tatum's over Joel Embiid Siggy's on God.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
for
mean
sure.
he's a free throw merchant. He lives at the free throw line, and we hear this term often, ethical basketball, and a lot of what Embiid does isn't necessarily the most ethical brand of basketball. He hunts for fouls, and but if you put all of that aside, man, his game is as complete as it could ever be for 7 footer, right? The dude shoots threes. He's got beautiful dribbling ability for his size. He's got really underrated passing ability. But yeah, he's just not likable, so it's really hard to vote a guy like that in. Well, he still managed to finish fourth in voting because of the fact that everyone can acknowledge that he's such a great player. But I also have like a secondary thing to all of this. I'm like, why don't they just do 10? Like, remove the positions thing. If they're gonna do remove the positions, then I think you just vote 10 all stars that should make the game. 10 starters, right? And so maybe there are 7 players from the East, and deservedly so. There might be better, like, because if you look at the front court, man, like after LeBron and Jokic, AD's been out, Zion's been out. You look at the next 6 on the list: Wiggins, Paul George, Markkanen, Draymond Green, Kevon Looney, Demontis Sabonis. It's not a hot
Nah,
list for front court players,
that's a weak ass list.
right? But then you go to the East side: Giannis, KD, Jason Tatum, Embiid, Butler, Pascal Siakam, Julius Randle. Like those are all guys who should be in the All Star game this year. Jimmy more or less because he's missed a lot of time this year too.
Mm.
But I think the conversation is fair to be like those guys are all playing at All Star levels this year, while the other guys are like they're just fill-ins because like you're voting by conference. So the same thing could be said, like what you were saying, Christian. Like Shea could easily overtake a guy like Kyrie, and Kyrie's balling right now, but he hasn't been doing that all season long necessarily. So it could be like Shea could definitely be a starting guard, and I think you just do 10 starters, man. For you're gonna remove positions, you might as well remove conferences.
Yeah, I feel like the only thing with that though is with like the 10 total. I think it almost speaks to why they don't do the 1 through 16 seeding, like overall, just because like at the end of the day, it's all a lot of it is about money. And if you're a Western Conference team and you're seeing that, like you said, if there's 7 starters from the East, that's 20% that you're missing out on and potential revenue and what it may be. But yeah, like I think it makes sense in terms of keeping basketball competitive. But I think just in terms of like the money wise, I think that's probably where like the big hesitation might be. But
So the
man,
one thing I would counter that is it's the players who bring in viewership, not necessarily the teams, because really, if
no
you look
doubt.
at the numbers, it's the team viewership that like teams will always watch. I mean, people will always watch the Knicks, the Lakers, the Bulls. Um, I'm missing a few others here that are just key markets to the NBA brand. outside of that, everything else is player based. And so, yeah, maybe 7 Eastern All Stars. You're missing maybe 2 other teams that are represented in viewership. But more often than not, they're still going to watch the game. They're still going to watch the pre programming. And a lot of these teams don't have representatives of the All Star game, anyways.
True.
So,
But I
I
just
think
feel like if you're an owner, regardless of like if you miss out or not, I think it's the fact that you have the potential to miss out where there's obviously that little bit of hesitation. But I agree. I mean, we see a lot of people who cheer for multiple teams. I'm not gonna lie, I fall into that boat as well. But you know, I think when it just comes down to it, a lot of it is just in like the illusion of keeping things fair. For instance, I'd say.
yeah, I get that. I get it, but it's like it's what makes the voting process
It was what makes it
also
like kind of
broken.
shitty to an extent.
Yeah,
That's
it's what
why
makes it
it needs this big
broken.
overhaul.
Yeah, I mean that's why like you have Zion Williamson and starting in the All Star game over Joel. When if you were to tell me there's 10 starters, no one's going to take Zion Williamson over Joel Embiid. The average fan, unless you're a Pelicans fan, obviously.
100%. I can get with that. Yeah, but I mean, overall, first of all, though, what do you guys think about the new format? The whole like street ball kind of thing where it's like you pick your team night of. I think Kevin Durant solely is the reason for this because of the disgusting squad he put together last time. But, you know,
I think it's a great format.
I love it too. Yeah.
I love it. I think well, because like I think the important part was the entertainment factor, and it's funny enough. I actually inside scoop. I talked to the NBA marketing team about this, and pickup basketball is a huge trend, and so it's a thing that kind of content is living everywhere, right? Like pickup basketball content, you see it on TikTok, YouTube. So they're playing into the fact that this is a content trend, and so the fact that they're implementing what happens in basketball culture outside of their brand across social media, I think it means that they're really trying to be innovative with the game. And this is like us when we were younger guys playing on the blacktop. As you know, it's just the Blacktop podcast, right? All right, so who's gonna be captain 1 and 2? Who gets first pick? All right, I get you. I get you. When you come down to the last guy, that guy who's the last pick, he's like, bro, for real? Like, why? And most of the time, it's like, because you suck or nobody wants to play with you. And so it'll be interesting to see who the last guy is going to be, right? And I think that's super fun also because, like, sure, these guys can come in prepared like LeBron and Giannis. But being live in that situation will play into like your emotions and like maybe you mess up and take someone you weren't expecting to take. So
You know, it's okay. I don't think Chris Middleton or Drew Holiday will make the All Star team. So Giannis is gonna have a solid squad for sure.
I don't know. It's for sure gonna be a really good All Star game. I don't know about the game format itself, but I think the draft live at the like
That might be the
before
highlight in
game,
itself, low key.
yeah, that might be it. Especially because LeBron puts together the best teams thus far. So, but to be fair, also the most competitive game was for sure when Giannis and LeBron were both the captains.
Yeah,
2020.
that was a
2020.
that was
That
a
all
good one,
game.
definitely.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I think last year was just a bit of a snooze fest. Not gonna lie, but with all these changes, I think it's for sure bringing a breath of fresh air into the mix. But
Yeah.
I'm excited, no doubt. I mean, I think just the overall, not really whole overhaul of it, but I mean, we're seeing a lot of changes. Mac McClung's going to be the dunk contest, so hopefully that's solid. I'm not going to lie, I'm rooting for the Canadian, but you know, I think Mac McClung's the guy that I hope he does get his opportunity, and there's no doubt that he's really going to use this platform to obviously not really try to like show anything else besides the fact that he's a bucket when it comes to like getting the dunks off. So I'm excited for that. But
Yeah.
I mean, Do we know if the Ignite guys are gonna play again in like the?
I believe they will. So
Ooh.
I have a. There's a probably chance Scoot is back in the game.
Oh man, I'm not gonna lie. Scoot last year was like a little underwhelming, but I think when you put him in this year, oh, oof. Imagine
Yeah.
him and Paulo are on the same team. That's gonna be nasty.
Well, I mean, Scoot didn't get very much time on the floor last
No,
year,
I don't
so
think
I
any of
mean,
those guys really got too much burn. I think if anything, the one I clearly remember was I think Dyson Daniels. He got maybe some decent burn, but you know, I mean, when we look at it, also we're gonna see another Canadian. You know, Leonard Miller. Everybody's kind of saying he's like PG-esque in a sense, but you know, it's gonna be solid for sure, no doubt. But all right, let's get into the good stuff here. We got the trade deadline, obviously. I think it's February 9th, 4 p.m. You're gonna hear Woj go off for hours upon hours, and it's gonna be beautiful. Does anybody want to throw out their first trade?
I got actually.
go ahead. No. Go ahead, Christian.
Let's hear
I
it,
actually
Christian.
really want to hear. I want to hear it.
All right. Well, the way I've kind of produced my trades here, I don't actually have a scenario of like who goes where, and I'm sure we could all come up with one. I think the first player that I think might be like a sleeper in terms of who I think has more value than it actually shows right now is Rashawn Holmes of the Sacramento Kings.
Yeah, it's a good one.
I like that.
And I think personally the Toronto Raptors should trade for him. I do just think in terms of like asset management and not giving up too much, he's kind of the perfect pick right now just because he's pretty much like like coach DNP on some nights and or maybe like a 10-minute player, and at this point he doesn't really have value, and I think like the Sacramento Kings aren't really trying to display that because they're a playoff team right now, right? Um, but really in his like better year, like or better years, I guess, maybe in the small sample size where he's really shown out, like he's been like a very serviceable center. And I think under Nick Nurse, especially like the sort of like bully ball, like big lineup, like kind of structure that Toronto kind of creates, I think he would be like a perfect player to like actually adopt into the system and um, possibly develop even into a better player. Like he's pretty sure he's still relatively young. How old is this guy?
I think he's like 29, 28.
Oh, he's 29. Okay, well he's not on the he's not on the clips of or on the sort of uh, back end of his career just yet. So I do think he could fit into the timeline, but I do think he's just a cheap center at this point. If the Toronto Raptors aren't looking to like really spend, which
Yeah,
they aren't usually.
yeah, no, that's a really good target because Rashawn Holmes, like to support everything you're saying, Christian. Rashawn Holmes was a free agent target last year, and obviously he ended up re-signing on a longer-term deal with Sacramento, and then ever since then, he hasn't been a part of their rotation. And that is a good option if Toronto is really thinking about looking for a center on long-term cash that is pretty good value for his contract without having to give up the King's ransom, right? And ideally, if you can grab a center without giving up any of your current starters, I think that's a plus. It all depends on what Sacramento is looking for in return. Um, a guy that has been mentioned in a lot of trade stuff is also Chris Boucher, and he just re-signed to a new deal. There's potential there where a guy like Chris Boucher might fit a lot better with what Sacramento is trying to do at the current moment.
Oh, that would be nice.
Right? Imagine Chris Boucher coming off the bench for your squad. When Domantas Sabonis comes off the floor, imagine him in lineups with Chimezie Metu. There's a lot of opportunities to run in transition. De'Aaron Fox leading that charge. And he's actually a really nice backline of defense with a much better like perimeter, defensive perimeter that Sacramento has in comparison to Toronto, at least so far this year. And I'm saying all that after the fact that Toronto kind of crushed Sacramento last night.
Yeah, they
But
kept their foot on the gas.
yeah, they did. No, that was the most complete performance I think I've seen from them in a while. But Rashawn Holmes is a really good free agent target, and what the only thing is to me is like, why has he not gotten the run that he did last year?
Hmm.
Obviously, a lot of it has to do with Sabonis coming in because, I mean, to start the season last year before the trade with Halliburton and Sabonis, like, he was starting, right? And or it was between him and who is it, Alex Len. Um, but the guy was getting run, and from a fantasy perspective, like the guy was producing,
Yeah.
and it's clear that he is a very productive and contributor to any team. So I mean, he's an interesting target for anyone, I think, coming to this off season. I mean, sorry, to the trade deadline season. Um, Especially teams that are looking for a backup center or someone that could start because he could fill either or.
Yeah, I like the option of Rashawn Holmes being traded because I think you get off. I think even though it is a solid contract in terms of player value, I think it's still money that is kind of being wasted away with Sacramento and the fact that he's not playing all that much. I think only kind of hesitance I think there is in trading him is obviously, what kind of is the market looking like for a guy like him. And then in addition to that, I looked it up. I think he has like a 15% trade kicker. And obviously that's going to be more money you're going to have to shell out for a guy who hasn't really played solid basketball throughout the entire year. But sorry, that was a little Twitch notification going off. But
Okay.
I like the idea of him moving to another place. He's a guy that was definitely a bit of a sleeper in terms of fantasy last year. It's like almost guaranteed double in a sense, but I mean it's all about the right fit. See how that all goes, and hopefully, because I do want to see him play some meaningful basketball, and not even just in the fact of like being in like a playoff situation or anything like that, but I think just being overall in being able to play. But yeah, I like the idea of that. I mean, Christian, the Celtics need a backup center. Y'all trying to get Rashawn Holmes?
Nah, I saved a better center for my team. I haven't gotten to that trade yet. I'm just,
Well, I mean, did we cover it in the last one, or maybe you have
no, I think
uh,
I mean, yeah, my next pick is one we did cover, I think, in the last one, but it is Jakob Poeltl
yeah,
uh,
yeah,
to the Boston Celtics. I just think Miles Turner is going to be as engageable as people think this offseason. Or sorry, fuck, I said it too. This trade deadline, and I personally think he's actually going to end up staying in Indiana, but I think Jakob Poeltl has a higher probability of being moved, and I think like we kind of mentioned, he's a really good player off the pick and roll, and just with kind of the speed between the two Jays and Boston, I think that would be like a really good dynamic to have a player like Jakob Poeltl on that team. And he's, a great contributor defensively and obviously gets boards. So,
No
yeah. He's a
doubt.
much better fit for the Celtics. Like, the BD thing about him is the Celtics have a lot of shooting, and so he's really good off short roll passing, and so like that'll open up your offense. And there was Robert Williams is really good at this too. He just hasn't been consistent all year, obviously with health, but Jakob Pertl would bring another dynamic to that roster. So I think like right off the bat, that's a winning move.
Yeah, because I mean, even on top of that, I think Pirtle's gonna be like he's gonna be solid. I think any situation you're putting him, he's gonna make it work. And then in addition to that, he's playing for contract money. I
Yeah,
think when you have that in tandem with being able to compete for a championship, you're gonna get a demon stretch from Pirtle for sure if he ends up going to the Celtics. Almost to the point
big
where you
time.
might have to decide between him and Robert Williams. Probably
Well, I
not,
mean,
but
he's young enough.
you know.
Well, he's young enough to have that decision, right? I mean, Robert Williams you'd keep, um, but yeah, Jakob Pertl, man, he's such he's a game changer, right? He's a game
He
changer.
might have usurped Drew Holiday as like one of, if not the most underrated players in the league.
Definitely. I mean, his advanced metrics don't look good because of the fact that he's playing with um really young players and quite frankly scrubs. So if you actually look at his defensive metrics, like He's actually a guy that gets attacked the most and gets finished the most at the rim. But a lot of that has to do with the fact that the perimeter defense of the Spurs is god awful. But yeah, context to numbers. I would always like to say that Jakob Poeltl is a game changer. So don't let some of these stats fool you because he's playing with guys that don't know how to stay behind, stay in front of people.
No doubt. Ruben, bro, you want to throw out a trade you got cooking up?
Yeah, I got OG Anunoby to the Pelicans, Dyson Daniels, Trey Murphy, Jackson Hayes, 2 first rounders. That includes the Lakers pick. Give me that. Um, yeah, I mean, listen, I think this is a deal that helps both the Raptors and the Pelicans. Raptors long term, they get Dyson Daniels, who I really like. I really like Dyson Daniels. And then you get a guy like Trey Murphy or Herb Jones, whoever they're willing to give up. You get a win-out player like OG Anunoby, 3-and-D guy who's going to be on a contending squad. I think that elevates the Pelicans to a different tier. I think that the Pelicans almost hit. You know what? No, I would say that the Pelicans, in my eye, would become the best team in the Western Conference if they were to acquire OG Anunoby without giving up a CJ McCollum or any of their key starters. So that would be on the top of my list. I think the other OG trade that I had in mind was anything that includes the Portland Trailblazers first round pick and Shaden Sharp and a couple other pieces on top of that. But I think there's been more than enough rumblings dating back to the summertime, and we covered this offline, that OG's been unhappy with his role, right? And so, I mean, we'll see. And a lot of it also has to do with the fact that it doesn't seem like he and Fred have a great connection. I don't know if you guys saw this tweet, but Nick Nurse tweeted about something back the championship season where Fred was demanding the ball in the outlet, and OG was upset enough that he would go to Nick Nurse and be like, "Hey, he's demanding the ball," and like in passing, he would pass by Nick Nurse and be like, "He's doing it again. He's doing it again."
Dang.
So, I mean, Fred is also very much a demanding player. But yeah, we'll see. I think OG's got a lot of trade value. I mean, if you guys also saw the other rumor that a mystery team offered 3 first round picks, but if it's a team like Boston that was offering 3 first round picks, I'm like, yeah, I don't know if I want the 28th pick for the next 3 drafts because I don't think that does anything for your team. But yeah, I mean, I think OG's got a lot of value. And Fred, I think Fred, you got to look into a trade with the Phoenix Suns. I think those are 3 top of the mind trades for me. Fred to the Suns would be interesting. Anything with Cam Johnson back would be really nice, and a first rounder. And I think they might be willing to do it, considering apparently the Suns are starting to look at their future without Chris Paul, considering his availability. So, I mean, and again, Fred's an expiring player. And notice how I haven't mentioned Gary Trent because my tune on him has changed quite a bit.
Yeah, completely flipped.
Yeah, no, it flipped. It flipped. I mean, he's just played himself so well to be like, and he's been professional all year, and I think no one's given him enough credit for that. And it's almost written in stone that he says he wants to stay in Toronto for long term, and he's looking for a number over 20 million for the next 4 years. So if that's the number he's looking for, I don't know. He should have been signed yesterday. But I don't believe he can be extended until the summertime now because they've passed that period. So, yeah, man, I think he's flipped. Gary Trent's got to be a part of the future. But Fred and OG definitely are guys that I think there's a lot of trades out there potentially for.
I like that. That would be crazy because I mean, you probably run what? You got CJ. Does that mean you shift BI to the 2? You let him run like.
Yeah, I mean you could, yeah.
Oh, I like that.
Because right now Herb Jones would have been starting. Like who's starting right now? Trey Murphy or Najee Marshall? One of those guys.
I think Trey Murphy has been getting the start with BI being out for the most part.
Yeah. So, I mean, OG, CJ, Brandon Ingram, Zion, Jonas Valanciunas.
That's nasty.
That's a pretty dirty team.
I feel like the only reason I don't know if that'll necessarily happen though is because like a lot of OG's frustrations with the fact that he's not really getting the ball as much, right?
Yeah, it's definitely a role thing, and a lot of that's why I was mentioning the Fred thing, because there's a chance that Fred gets traded. I'm almost gonna say
Fred's probably more likely, right?
I say 70-30 because of the fact that he has been public about his role change this year, and the fact that there was even a video that came out where he was like, "Bro, if I don't get the money, I'm walking the f out of here." So, um, I'm not paying Fred. I'm not paying Fred $33+ million a year. The dude can barely stay on the court. He's been a net negative this year. So, um, I love Fred. He's one of my favorite players to ever wear this jersey. But it's looking dark.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens, no doubt. But dang, I like that trade. I just think that it's probably just it's more so OG's. I think going from another situation where he's a tweener between like a third and fourth to fifth option to going back to another situation like that. But I think the flip side is that you have a lot more opportunity for growth with like how young that Pelicans team is. So it would make sense why like he'd be willing to kind of teeter his expectations a bit with wanting to expand the role. But we'll see what happens. I think definitely Fred's the one that gets moved before. But if they're
I got to drop in too. The one last thing I'll say is that winning heals everything.
100%, no doubt.
Winning cures everything. So,
alrighty, let me throw a trade out here. So, I had like a few I made. We'll start here.
Jimmy Butler to the Cavs. What?
Hell no! Oh my goodness! You know what? Speaking of the Cavs, I'll start there. Joe Harris for Karis LeVert, straight up. Because I think when you think about it, what do the Cavs really need? They need a guy who's not going to be dribbling all that much and is there to really help stretch the floor. And Joe Harris plays solid D. We've seen that he's not really back to his like old self in an extent, but prior to having the reconstructed knee surgery, solid defender, and I think he can get back to that, especially playing back in a system where he's just spotting up. When you look at the Cavs, I think that's really all they need with their three. But we see that with Karis LeVert, he doesn't really do that. He has the ability to knock down a shot, no doubt. But we've seen that he wants to kind of be the guy to an extent. He wants to ISO. He wants to, dribble here and there. But when you look at the personnel, especially with kind of this hierarchy of scoring, there's not really room to do that. And I think the only thing the Cavs really need in terms of really getting that next echelon is a guy like Joe Harris, I think. When you look how successful Kevin Love was last year, spotting up, he was like, I think he was in the finalists for the 6th Man of the Year award, if I'm not mistaken. But you put a guy like Joe Harris there where it's literally just spot up. You got two of the best, if not the best backcourt in the league right now, being able to feed you the ball when you're open, and they themselves garner so much gravity. And not to mention that you can not really say it's slack, but defense is pretty solid and pretty easy once you got Evan Mobley and Jared Allen on your back line. And I think it'd just be it feels a lot like a lateral move, but I think it's lateral in the sense of you're getting off of a guy who's taking up a lot of the usage. And in turn, you're able to divvy that usage to the guys you really want to have the ball. Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland. And Joe Harris is a guy that I think could really benefit from playing with Darius Garland. Now, on the flip side, I mean, can you imagine how electric Brooklyn's going to be if they get Karis LeVert back? I don't even remember how the exit really went, but I think it was just a matter of that it was like a little too much money, whatever it may be. But having him go back to that team, we saw how, like, I think in terms of a fun scale, that Brooklyn Nets team with like Dinwiddie, Karis LeVert, Jared Dudley
D'Lo
cheering on the bench, D'Lo, that was a crazy fun team to watch. And I think what the Nets are really lacking outside of like additional front court depth is I think a bench scorer who can like create at multiple levels. Because I think when you look at it, it's a lot of guys who are able to spot up, able to catch and shoot. But I think, I'm not gonna lie, my big thing with like today's basketball is that it's very stagnant. We've seen how the Luka offense isn't really all that potent at times, especially when he's off the floor. Now, I think the Nets are built in a similar extent, but you have two like superstars who are able to create for themselves. And, you know, as much as KD is going to play 40 plus minutes in the playoffs, game 7 against the Bucks, he played like every minute except maybe 3. That's going to be very taxing. And I think you add a guy like Karis LeVert to that, who is able to somewhat alleviate that and get his here and there, playing alongside guys like Kyrie and KD. And I think it's a very big win-win situation for sure.
I like that. I like that a lot. Karis LeVert brings a lot of dynamics. I mean, we all know he's just never really found himself a role ever since he left Brooklyn. So it would be nice to kind of see him reinvent himself in that bench role, reestablish himself, and I think he's a guy that would fit there. I just don't know about Joe Harris in Cleveland, because I think the one thing that they still lack in Cleveland is a true wing stopper, right? And a guy like OG and Jimmy Butler, like that's why I was bringing up those names jokingly, is a perfect fill-in. Like a team like Cleveland, they have a really small window here for them to win, because again, I think I still truly, even though the Milwaukee Bucks are still my favorite personally when fully healthy, I think the East is still wide open in terms of who can come out, because you look at those 6, right? Boston, Milwaukee, Cleveland, Brooklyn, Philly, right? Am I missing another 6th team? I probably am. But I mean, those 5 are the clear-cut contenders in the Eastern Conference. And it's pretty wide open. Like, I wouldn't say that there's necessarily one team that has a significant step up above the other. It's really about who's going to be peaking at the right time. Boston's been playing really good basketball, right? But who's to say that that's going to continue into the playoffs, because anything can happen, right? So, and the same can be said about when it comes to health. So I think, a team like Cleveland really, I hate to say this at the same time, because I'm often a guy that's like, you need to be patient with your young players, but I think you got to think about a guy like Evan Mobley and see what return that can get you. Because if a team,
okay,
I'm saying, because listen, Evan Mobley is clearly a generational player, and I think that while we all think his defense is a bit overrated, he's very clearly
It
a
is.
talented player. Yeah, I mean, he's still very clearly a talented player with a lot of
Oh yeah.
potential. Like, he's very Chris Bosh-esque, and so you got to see what kind of return that gets you, because you have a small window. And while Evan Mobley is also really important to their success, don't get me wrong, like Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell as your backcourt moving forward, it's worth investing in that, because that's a really young backcourt with a lot of potential together. So, anyways, I just say, look, think about it. I don't know if Joe Harris is the answer. I think it's a nice trade for someone that hasn't really established himself within the roster and what they're doing as a scheme. But I think you got to see what return Evan Mobley gets you. And I mentioned in the last podcast, I think Miami should blow that shit up, man. I think Miami should blow that up.
Just so anti Evan Mobley, man.
I'm not anti Evan Mobley. I'm just you gotta. I don't know if they fit the timeline. Like Cleveland's.
Wait,
like,
what do you mean he doesn't fit the timeline? DG's what? 23, 24?
Yeah, and Donovan's like 27, and Evan Mobley is like 21, 22. I get it. But you gotta see what return that gets you. Like, if that's why I was jokingly saying, if it gets you a guy like Jimmy Butler, that takes you up another level.
I don't know. Jimmy's making 50 M's when he's like 38, though.
I'm just saying, because you've got a small window. Because then, like, you look at all these other teams, they are still going to be where they're at. Like, Boston is going to get better, simply because of the fact that I don't think there's a better duo in the league right now than Tatum and Jaylen Brown.
There really isn't.
I just don't.
Paulo and Franz in 3 years.
Nah,
that's still a hot ass take.
That's volcanic eruption take.
No, but wait, hold up.
No, we ain't
So
going.
do you okay? This isn't about Paulo and Franz because that's a wild shit. I just said that to be a dumbass.
Oh,
But
100%.
when we look at the Cavs, you don't think their window's gonna like open a bit more? Because like even though I'm a Bucks fan, I think there's a mortality to this team. As great as Giannis is, we've seen how Chris Middleton continues to age, and like man's knee might not be the same. Drew Holiday, I think he's like 33 now. So I think that I think the Evan Mobley thing is just a little too. It's giving whatchamacallit. It's giving Rudy Gobert vibes in a sense where I think you're trying to accelerate the rebuild a little too quickly. I think this is a team you could really just let naturally grow. And along the lines, we've seen that with this current draft class that's coming up. There's a lot of wings. Maybe you find one guy there that can replace Isaac Okoro, who you took with the 4th overall pick. Like, I think you look at trading guys like that before you even think of like even
Oh,
entertaining the idea
absolutely.
of trading a guy like Evan Mobley. But I think it's a sense of that I would much rather have this team grow naturally and see how far DG, Donovan Mitchell, and Evan Mobley, who continues to get better on defense, see how far that gets you. And not even to mention Jared Allen as your backline. And I think, they don't need a crazy like Jimmy Butler type wing. I don't think that's really what they need. I think it's just a guy who's very, very solid. Again, low maintenance. Like, because I think Karis LeVert's just a guy who wants too many shots. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. You put a guy like Kenrich Williams in there, I think that's pretty solid. Like, I don't think they really need their small forward to really be one of their top guys.
I'm gonna shoot this question to you, DJ. When was the last time an NBA team won a championship without an All NBA wing?
An all NBA wing?
Like an All NBA
All
or like even an
NBA,
All
All
Star.
Star, because that's. I mean, I think that those coincide in a sense. But you
True.
tell me the last NBA championship team that won without an All Star, All NBA, significantly impactful player at the wing position. The only team that I can personally think of.
Do you call Kobe a wing or do you call him more into the realm of the guard?
I mean, he's
No,
a
Kobe's a
two guard,
guard.
but he's a two guard. But I mean, if he also played beside Ron Artest.
True. True.
And the one team that I'm trying to think of is Dallas. But if you think about it, they had a plethora of wing players that were able to succeed in that role. Caron Butler, Sean Marion, like these are guys who are able to contribute significantly to that team because of every other piece.
Think about that team's front court.
Yeah, Dirk and Tyson Chandler.
That's really
If
the
we're gonna
two guys that made the engine hum.
Okay, so is Evan Mobley going to be Dirk Nowitzki?
No, I'm not saying that. All I'm saying is that I don't think they really need like a crazy like top level wing in a sense. When you have DG, when you have Donovan Mitchell, when you have the two like twin towers to be your back line, you just need the guy who plays your 3 to be all right. Like if it's a guy that's like a Marcus Smart level dude where the offensive comes in like spurts, but the D is so good, you take that any day. And I don't think they really need to go and like trade Evan Mobley to go get this kind of guy.
I get that, but then if their aim is just to be in the playoffs and be within the top 4 seeds every year, then sure, I'll take that because it's better than being whatever they were without LeBron James.
So do you think being elite at 4 out of the 5 positions puts them at such a big disadvantage because they don't have that solid 3?
I'm not saying it's a disadvantage. What I'm saying is they're not going to reach the ultimate goal. And it's not because of the fact that I don't think that this team is good at all. I think it's just because, like, historically speaking, like, 2 small guards who are, like, granted, Donovan Mitchell has improved a lot defensively this year. I think he's bought into the fact that he's like, he needs to be better. But these are 2 small guards who have historically been net negatives on the defensive end. And while they're covered by two guys who, Jared Allen, great defensive player, Evan Mobley, generational potential defense. But I mean, generational potential defense. Is there an example of a team with two small guards as your main offensive options, with a lack of a strong, impactful wing player, been able to win a championship? And the answer is truthfully no. And it's like, yes, I mean, there's a lot of factors, and I could just be like cliff noting this whole thing, because yes, like I said, I like I disclaimed in the beginning, like, think of Evan Mobley, it's crazy. I just said, look at what his value is like and what that could potentially get you. It's not like they're gonna get a Jimmy Butler, because I don't think Jimmy Butler's on the market. I'm only just saying, but they clearly have a serious gap at the 3. Do I think Isaac Okoro and their other young players, and as Karis LeVert and their first round picks, like, are they going to get you that kind of player? And in terms of value currently, I just don't think so. Which is why I say you maybe take a call. Take a call and be like, hey man, like, what would you guys be willing to offer Evan Mobley? Like, you gotta throw in the Drewski and be like, what do y'all mean by that? Like, yo, what would you want for Evan Mobley? Right?
Ruben, man, be careful what you wish for. They might trade Evan Mobley for OG Anunoby and some picks.
Hey, bro, I'll take Evan Mobley.
You know what, team? I had to do some thinking while you guys are talking. The San Antonio Spurs, technically, because Kawhi Leonard was not an all-star at the time, was kind of like the closest comparison to what this team could be.
Well, no, Kawhi was like was deployed.
He was a DPOY though. I mean,
no,
yeah,
in 2014, he did win the MVP, like the Finals MVP. But I think that's the only accolade he had at that point in that season. But Patty Mills and Tony Parker were the starting point guards, and Boris Diaw and Tim Duncan were the.
And Tiago Splitter was giving motherfuckers work.
Who was there? Well, I mean, they had Manu come off the bench. I mean, Manu
off the bench. Yeah.
I mean, that was a super deep team. And to be fair, though, like, even though Kawhi wasn't DPOY yet that time, like, everybody was talking about how he was giving LeBron the work.
That's
like,
true.
you guys, come on, y'all remember
we've
that?
all seen the video.
Yo, you all seen the video. That's what I'm talking about, bro. Like, when he saw Kawhi come back, he's like, you know, like, come on, Kawhi was so impactful.
Kawhi is the LeBron stopper, man. I mean, granted,
the true LeBron stopper.
Actually, no, I don't think in the recent Clipper-Laker game, I don't think LeBron got a single bucket on Kawhi. If I remember that correctly.
I don't think really anybody scores on Kawhi, man. That's tough. I mean, Kawhi, the only Kawhi stopper there is Kawhi, his body. That's a Kawhi stopper. That's a true Kawhi stopper.
Okay, wait. Who was the wing on, like, the first go around for the Spurs? Like pre-Kawhi even.
Did they have like Steve Jack, Richard Jeffs? They had
I guess.
I mean Michael Finley. They had a lot of dudes.
I don't think you really need like this world-class wing. Maybe now to an extent.
I mean, 1990 something, 2001.
True.
All right,
Never
but you
mind.
know what I
That was
mean.
kind of
Like,
stupid to bring up, but
hey, I would say 2004. But remember who was starting at the 3 of that 2004 Pistons team?
That was
Tayshaun Prince.
Yeah, Tayshaun.
Bro. Legend.
Prince was locking shit up.
Nah, man, that's what I'm saying. Like, you got
that could be Jay Crowder.
And think about the anomalies.
Shit.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you. Jay Crowder. Jay Crowder is a really good piece. I think he fits perfectly into Cleveland. A return to the land.
Okay. But what was your original point, Ruben? You need an all-star. You need an all-NBA level.
Yeah,
Jay Crowder is nowhere near
course.
that.
But listen, look, Jay Crowder has been in the finals twice.
And he's lost both times.
But what I'm saying is he's an impactful wing.
to
He's an impactful 3D
losing.
player. But hey, but what I'm saying is that's a really good piece. And why I'm saying a guy like Jay Crowder is a good example of the fact that like Cleveland clearly doesn't have that. And if Phoenix is like, hey, we'll take Isaac Okoro for our good old man Dems Jay Crowder, then sure. But I don't even think Cleveland would be willing to offer that.
No,
And
they'll
and
give him like Lamar Stevens or something.
but why would Phoenix say yes to that?
I don't know.
Phoenix
Phoenix, they,
sucks.
they they just like they screwed this situation so wholeheartedly. And I'm not gonna lie, as a Bucks fan, I really fucking hope he doesn't come here, especially if it involves Grayson Allen. I've heard that the deal that's not the deal, but Jay Crowder's just all he does is shoot threes occasionally, play the odd defense here and there, and he hasn't even played all season. Like I think people are just hyping him up to be this like crazy like defender, which to an extent he's solid when it comes to like the team defense and all that. But are y'all really depending? Let's say this: NBA Finals, Clippers versus whoever. Are y'all really hoping that Jay Crowder can stop PG or fucking Kawhi? He's not gonna do that.
I mean, yeah, he won't. But he's definitely better than whatever they're starting at the three.
I
It's
guess.
Isaac Okoro.
It's a considerable upgrade at the position, and I think that elevates their level. I mean, I was only saying if they're looking for a massive return, I think that there's a chance that Cleveland could hit a home run on a very impactful three on a player that they can build for in the future. I mean, like if you were traded Evan Mobley, like that would warrant a significant package back. Like, there's a reason why
I didn't
people are
even know
like,
if you
he's
can get a
basically
package
untouchable.
like that. Because, I mean, we saw how much Rudy went for. And granted, Evan Mobley doesn't have, like, the accolades that Rudy has. But there's no way he's like, he doesn't warrant something close to that.
Yeah.
But, I
I
mean,
mean,
this is supposed to be at the trade deadline. There's no way Evan Mobley gets moved at the trade deadline.
oh no, no. I would listen. My only point was literally think about what you get for him. I mean, and if the return is absolutely incredible, then you gotta be like, all right, well, let's talk about it. But in living in a real world IRL, right? Jay Crowder is the perfect guy. I just also don't think it's like what deal is available there between those two teams. But I will agree with Shin. I think Crowder's for sure getting moved. It's just a matter of what return he wants because there's also a reading that Phoenix wants a solid young player and a pick and a solid and a good rotation player. And I'm like, you guys understand that this is Jay Crowder, right? Like,
Man hasn't played basketball in the entire
yeah.
year. And he's a
So
scrub.
Looks like he's staying with the Suns if that's what they want.
True.
Shit,
All right,
shit ass
another trade I'm gonna
franchise.
throw out to y'all. This is kind of a mid one, but I mean, Ruben, big Clippers dude. You know what they're really lacking? I think is another center. Luke Kennard, 2 seconds. Mo Bamba,
I like that.
right? You know, for the Clippers, it's another center who's able to give them different looks. You know, Ivica Zubac is solid, but obviously he's not going to stretch out the floor anywhere from past the rim. And then Luke Kennard, I think, is a guy where he's 26, so he's still, I think, relatively in the realm of the window the Magic are going to have open in these next few years. And granted, you know, you're obviously not getting him to be like one of your primary scorers or anything, but what's he going to do? He's really going to open up the lane and the entire floor for, I think, Franz and Paulo, who aren't the most potent from the three. Franz, to an extent, is because he's just, I think, he's probably one of the more polished scorers, especially in this draft. Like, I think if we redraft last year's, or was it 2020? Yeah, if we redraft that draft, Franz probably goes first, in my opinion. And then when you pair that with a guy like Paulo, who are both guys that, again, score at multiple levels but aren't super comfortable with the three, you put in a guy like Luke Kennard, it's going to make their job so much easier. And then Mo Bamba, I think, is just a guy where Man, he's really been on the short end of the stick and for Orlando. We saw last year had a career year, and what does he get to build off of that? Bol getting everybody's attention for these past like few months, and all for that just for Bol to go back to the bench. But Mo Bamba's a guy I think can definitely make an impact on a winning team, and if you put him with the Clippers, ban the back line of Mo Bamba, and you got two wing defenders with Paul PG and Kawhi. Shit, that'd be nasty.
I like Mo Bamba for the Clippers. I like that a lot, man. I like that a lot. The only problem with the Luke Kennard return is, man, that team is so logjam at every guard position. Like, they're probably gonna. I think that's the one team that people don't realize is probably gonna be a seller, because even though that they're gonna be a team that's like they were making a nice run, but I think they're gonna be back in the lottery. Um, I mean between Markel Fultz, R.J. Hampton. I mean, there's even been conversation that Jalen Suggs is a guy they're looking at shopping because I mean, Cole Anthony and Markel Fultz have been so good so far. I mean, ever since coming back consistently with their health. Um, it would be interesting to see where they go. I think they're going to be sellers for sure, though. Imagine selling Jalen Suggs like after 2 years. I mean, I think they're still going to get a solid return for that, and I think it's smart of them to sell pretty early on him, considering he hasn't done very much since he's entered the league. Unfortunately, but it'd be interesting to see what transpires out of the Magic, because I think for sure they'll be active during trade deadline because they've got a lot of pieces that can help contenders this year. And Mo Bamba to the Clippers is kind of like that's a good reflection of what they can do this year.
You know what's a trade that works financially, but obviously probably won't happen? Mo Bamba, Jalen Suggs for Fred VanVleet.
Hey, y'all cooking. At that point, you guys are cooking.
Oh man, that I'm not gonna lie. I saw that and I did that on the Fanspo thing or whatever, and it's like, man, it kind of looks nice. I can't lie, because I mean, I think there's value in acquiring vets for sure, and we've seen how the Rockets, where if you don't have anybody to really be a veteran, you're gonna be a complete shit show. Not only that, I think there's real value in having those be some of the guys that are really hard spots in your rotation. I think as great as UD is, you know, he's amazing, Miami legend and all that. But I think that's the thing that's like he's earned in a sense when you've been a
Blow
part
up
of something.
the team.
Yeah.
Blow up the Heat. Kyle Lowry might get traded at the deadline too, eh?
True. Who
mean,
would want him? Who would want
from
that
what I
big
understand,
round mound
from what I understand, the Clippers are trying to reinvent that 2019 roster.
yeah, y'all motherfuckers want Ibaka. Y'all might go and buy out Marc Gasol from Barcelona.
Yeah, I mean, apparently he flew over and had a meeting with them.
Really?
So. I mean, actually, maybe that's some Barstool Sports something or Ballsack Sports. Follow for ass stuff. But that's what I read, bro. I read something crazy like that. But I mean, listen, they've been trying. I mean, 2019, Lawrence Frank was scouting Kawhi during Raptors games. Like he was leaving his own team to go scout this. So. It's not a secret that they've liked these Raptors players for a while, and they're trying to grab and reinvent what was able to win a championship, but they're just kind of too far gone. But I mean, Kyle's an interesting dude. I mean, he's gonna get paid a lot over the next 3 years, but he might be worth it for a team that is a little bit more complete as a roster. Because with a team like Miami, they need to rely a lot on Kyle right now, and I just don't think he has that anymore. And we saw that in Tampa. Yeah. He's a team that needs to be on a more complete roster. He needs to be a finishing piece rather than a major piece. So I mean, I think he could be dealt by the deadline. I mean, man, just blow up Miami, bro. Like that team, man, that bubble ass team, bro. Get them off my screen, dog. Give me, move Bam Adebayo to the Raptors, Butler to the Cavs, Kyle Lowry to the Clippers. Blow it up. Start over.
So they're building around Tyler Hero.
Play Tyler Hero 47 minutes.
Holy.
Vincent
Max
play.
Strus is gonna get paid 50 M's.
Yeah, man. Like, well, they built around Bam, but you know what I'm trying to say. I think that team is as mid as it get. Like, they were gonna mid off between the Atlanta Hawks, the Toronto
True.
Raptors, and the Miami Heat.
All right.
Straight mid off.
We're coming down to the end here. I think before we do a real quick round of Blacktop Showdown, any trades y'all want to throw out?
James Wiseman, Moses Moody, and Kuminga for anything.
I think you keep Kuminga personally. I think the only guys who I'd really consider trading is I think Wiseman almost. I think Moody can still carve out a role there, but Wiseman I think is a guy where, you know, you tried to break out of the mold. You know, you never had like a truly dominant center, and there's this guy who's supposed to be this unicorn, and it hasn't really worked. But I mean, can you imagine Wiseman to the Spurs? You get Pirtle, maybe get a little Dougie McDermott.
Yeah,
Actually,
Pirtle's
no,
been connected to a lot of teams, but I think the Warriors actually have been the biggest name.
I think because they
connected to
have
Pirtle.
like the things that can really replace it in the sense of like young pieces.
Dude, that's what I'm saying. Short roll, Jakob Pirtle
Oh man,
playing with Steph and Clay.
Pirtle's gonna
That's-
average. I think he's averaging 4 assists right now. Motherfucker might go
He's
into a
probably gonna
double
hit
double.
7. Yeah, bro. Triple double, man. That dude's a 10 and 10 guy every game.
True. I like that though. Alrighty. If y'all don't know what Blacktop Showdown is, it's real simple. As a kid, you know, we all pulled up to the park. We all pulled up to the blacktop. And what do you do there? You go there to bust some motherfucking ass. Now, I got some guys here, and we're gonna obviously take them in their prime, no doubt. And you just gotta make a case for why your guy's the better man. Why your guy would dog the other guy. And this one's real special. And this one I like to call the 6-man showdown. So, Christian, pick a number 1, 2, 4.
It's between. This is got to be between Jamal Crawford, Manu Ginobili.
That's what I'm thinking. I want number 4.
You got, you're a Celtics man. You got a guy who, in my opinion, is probably front runner right now for 6th man of the year, Malcolm Brogdon.
Ooh.
Ruben,
right.
pick a number 1 to 3.
2.
2. You got Jamal Crawford. Now, it's not about who is actually better or who you think is better. It's about making an argument that the guy you have, the person you have. So for Christians, Malcolm Brogdon. For Ruben, Jay Crossover. Again, it's not about who's actually better. It's about making your argument. Alrighty. Christian, you got the basketball reference page up?
Oh, I do.
Okay, you ready?
I'm trying to be ready.
Oh man.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, ready. They get a minute, and then after that first round, we go to a 30-second rebuttal. Ready. 3, 2, 1, go.
All right. So I'm just gonna be honest about Malcolm Brogdon right now. He don't got as deep of a bag as Jamal Crawford, but what he does have is he's got a hot hand. He has literally averaged 50, 40, 90 on 21 points per game season. Like, I don't like that is like truly like, almost like at an all-star level. And this is a 6-man. Jamal Crawford got a bag, but if you're really on the blacktop, like the half of the bag is really the shot. If you can make a shot from literally anywhere on the court over anyone and you're, whoever, like you can definitely take whoever. Like and on top of that, I mean, I haven't even looked at his defensive stats if I'm being honest, but if I'm looking here, he's averaged 2.2 steals per game in his best defensive season. This guy can lock up Jamal Crawford, but Jamal Crawford ain't gonna make that shot. He ain't stroking that thing like Malcolm Brogdon stroking that thing.
I like that. Ruben, brother, you ready?
Yeah, I am.
Oh, three, two, one, go.
Y'all are talking about Jamal Crossover, Jay Crossover, a Seattle Pro-Am legend, a street ball legend, known for his fantastic ball handling moves, and a three-time Six Man of the Year award winner. What does the Six Man a Year of award winner connect to? Being able to score in volume for your team, contribute off the bench, and that's what he's done because he is one of the best three level scorers to ever play at this game at the role that he has made consistently throughout his entire career. The man is one of the best at getting to the rim, scoring in the mid range, scoring in the 3 point range. And when you're talking about the blacktop, that's what it's all about. When you check up the ball and you receive the ball in your possession, it is about what magic you can make happen. And Jamal Crossover is the best to ever do it on the NBA floor. He took street ball to the NBA game and made it his, and 3 6 Man of the Year awards counts for that.
Alrighty. So that was their opening round. Now we're going to go to a 30-second rebuttal. Christian, you ready?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1, go.
All right, so I just gotta devalidate some of Ruben's opinions. I think first of all, Jamal Crawford is a good street ball player, but you could literally have thrown so many NBA players into street ball settings, and they dropped like 80 points, bro. Kobe went up to Rucker Park and dropped 60 points. I'm not saying Malcolm Brogdon is Kobe by any means, but like these are like small town situations. Also, he's talking about team situations, bro. This is a fucking blacktop. Malcolm Brogdon 2.2 steals, 22 points per game, bro. That's one dude, not a fucking team.
Oh, give it to me, give it to me.
Okay, ready? 3, 2, 1, go.
I said check up the ball in possession in a one-on-one. Jamal Crawford is one of the best to ever do it in the isolation. There is nobody guarding him in these positions. I understand Malcolm Brogdon is a really good 50, 40, 90. He's a really good defender. But remember, a lot of what he's done is on a team setting, while Jamal Crawford has also proven his ability on both ends of the floor, on the street ball court, on the blacktop. The man has been a legend. And so if you've seen that, the three awards, his numbers, they all reflect that.
Blacktop's still
Alright.
5 players though.
Oof. Alrighty. I think y'all both put forward, or think y'all both put forward two solid arguments. Malcolm Brogdon. I can't lie. Bit of a homer pick for me. I mean, here's a little tidbit. I have his rookie card, and in it, he's wearing like Air Max Flyknits, not even any ball shoes. And then you got Jamal Crawford. I'm not gonna lie, he was kind of a ringer here. He was a guy that unequivocally is unfuckwittable in terms of the blacktop. So for that reason, and I think Christian, you put forth a solid argument, but I think you just got a little too into the numbers when it comes down to the blacktop. Numbers are just numbers. So I gotta go with Jamal Crawford
Okay,
there.
but okay, let me just make like a post game rebuttal here. If we're talking about blacktop and we're thinking about 6 men and we're talking about volume shooting, like 22 points per game as like not well at that point he's a starter, but like the minutes are like
Wait, the
similar and
22
like
is with Indiana when he was a starter, isn't it?
yeah, he was a starter. But even so, like given that, like that kind of like I mean, I'm only pulling from numbers, like to be honest, because like if you are going up against someone like say Jamal Crawford, you have to obviously have like objective statistics to go against someone who it hasn't been in the street ball scene. So I mean, I'm just saying, like, what am I supposed to lean on personally? You know,
Malcolm Brogdon's a solid defender.
bro, I literally said that.
True.
He's a solid defender. I think it's just I think the difference is you're talking about a one-on-one situation where a lot of NBA calls just don't play into effect. And if you were to tell me Jamal Crawford versus Malcolm Brogdon, I think just from the moment you check it up at the top of the key, the guy with more in his bag is just going to be a lot more successful in any situation unless the guy is like literally Kawhi Leonard. I mean,
True.
Malcolm
True.
is
True.
really
True.
good, but I think a lot of what he's been known for, even though he could be a Six Man of the Year award winner this year, is that he's been a really good team player on both ends. So I mean, that was my only argument. I mean, his success with a team should not downgrade his argument as him being a potentially really good one-on-one player. But if you sat there and told me, "Oh, I'm gonna take Malcolm Brogdon over Jamal Crawford in an isolation setting," I'd call you crazy.
Alrighty, we're head to this next round. Let me get it on this. Reuben, brother, pick a number 1 or 3.
3.
You got Jordan Clarkson, and I got Jordan Poole. Battle of the Jays here.
Ooh.
Alrighty, Christian, you're gonna be our referee here. Reuben, since you won the last one, you want to go first or second?
I'll go second.
Okay. For myself, Jordan Poole. 3, 2, 1, go. When we talk about Jordan Poole, we're talking about one of the most creative guys offensively. We've seen his bag. We've seen it continue to grow. And now we're looking at him shoot shots over Stephen Curry. Steph Curry got ejected because Jordan Poole took a wild-ass shot. Now, granted, he missed it, but he makes those motherfuckers here and there. We've seen the finals run. We've seen the buzzer beaters. We've seen him get into the Duffy. I mean, when you think about how amazing Jordan Poole is, and you know, we pull it to the blacktop, the baddies are going to be out. So you know that he's going to be on his shit for sure. And the fact of the matter is, Jordan Poole, he's a better Jordan Clarkson. We think about Jordan Clarkson, 6-man and all that, but when you look at Jordan Poole, the Duffy is big, the Duffy is fine. And when you look at his ability to create at multiple positions, multiple levels, none really do it all that better. And when they're on the blacktop, of course he's starting, so you know you're getting the best part of Jordan Poole. It's not going to be the man who comes off the bench. It's the man who's going to fuck you up on the blacktop. Reuben, 3, 2, 1, go.
So we talk about Jordan Poole being a better Jordan Clarkson. Jordan Clarkson has a better field goal percentage, 3-point percentage, free throw percentage, efficient field goal percentage, player efficiency rating, win shares, and he's also better taking care of the basketball. The difference between them two is, yeah, I mean, like, Poole does have a slightly better bag, but Clarkson is a lot more ethical with the way he gets his baskets. He's able to take care of the ball better. So when you're talking about per possessions, you're going to check the ball out in a one-on-one situation. I'm going to take care of the guy. I'm going to take the guy who can take care of the ball a lot better in those situations, not dribbling off his feet, slipping out of his hands in clutch situations, in very close moments. And we've seen a lot of situations where Poole's gotten himself into trouble trying to make the flashiest play. And Jordan Clarkson has been able to have a career worth of amazing highlights because he's able to take care of the ball. He's able to finish those plays. And again, like I said, stats are better, and that should reflect his argument as a better player than Jordan Poole.
Okay. Rebuttal. 3, 2, 1, go. Man, fuck the numbers. When it comes down to it, Jordan Poole is a fucking dog. There's no way around it. And again, like I said, the baddie's gonna be out, so you know Jordan Poole's bringing his A game. Now, yeah, sure, Jordan Poole shoots shitty shots here and there, but he makes a lot of those shits. And on top of that, man, his ability to drive, again, the ability to create at multiple levels, there is much that Jordan Poole can't do offensively. And I think when it comes to Jordan Clarkson, it's just going to be a little too much. Jordan Clarkson's going to probably resort to putting his fists up and not throwing a single punch. All right, Rube. 3, 2, 1, go.
Jordan Poole's a really good player, but you also know that Jordan Poole completes those shots less than Jordan Clarkson does. Again, I think that plays a big part into guys who have very similar bags, very similar bucket styles, play styles. But I'm going to take the guy who takes care of the ball better, who completes more of those shots. And listen, if you look at their numbers side by side, you take that to the blacktop, the guy who has the slight edge will probably win.
Okay.
All right. I feel like these two arguments were like two different sorts of arguments. Like there was definitely, I think, a good point to be made about Jordan Poole having the bigger bag. But man, DJ, you got to talk about the bad bitches coming out. It's like,
you know the bad bitches gonna be out when Jordan Poole's playing on the blacktop.
When I played this summer, there are no bad bitches. Nah, I get that though. I mean, if it was like an NBA pro am outside, I'm sure they would come out. But I do think like this case, I think what I think convinced me with Ruben's argument why I'm taking Jordan Clarkson is the idea of like ethical buckets and like being able to hold on to the ball. I do think like in like a setting where there's two players that aren't two defensive powerless space players, like whoever can kind of I think just be more of a consistent and concise player, more of a like strict player on the ball, might end up
Don't
winning that
forget
game.
more accurate. Just a little bit more
the,
accurate too.
the more disciplined player, I think. I would take Jordan Poole. I think in this situation, though, I will say that. I think he just. I think like if you like go into like the actual argument of it, I think he just like whenever he is like making his buckets, I think he is just like there's so much pressure on him in the situation. Like he's kind of the first option whenever he is on the floor, unless he's playing beside like Curry, which is pretty rare, right? So
what you're saying is Jordan Clarkson only wins when it's a sausage fest. Put him out in the rucker. Beautiful women are out.
What the hell is happening? What
Jordan Poole is dogging that motherfucker, man.
I would like to know their head-to-head stats because that would be so interesting.
That would be. But man, they need to do a one-on-one tournament. I don't even think you really need to get like the top guys in it. If you can get like even the guys like say Jordan Clarkson, he's not no all-star or anything like that. But if you put him in there, people are gonna watch for sure.
Jordan Poole is 7-4 against Jordan Clarkson in his career. I think that's just like record, but in terms of head-to-heads, Jordan Clarkson.
I feel like JC still probably has the numbers because like if you think about it, Poole's only really played like consistent and effective basketball for like 2 years.
Yeah,
or like more like 1.5 because this season's not even done yet.
I'm looking for their specific head-to-head matchups. Like, I don't think I can find that right now. But anyways, I mean, Jordan Clarkson does have the slight edge in numbers. So
you just throw the bad bitches out and get a whole different JP.
Bro, man.
Nah, you throw Austin Reeves in there, bro.
Yeah. Oh,
you cooking both of them.
That's a goat right there.
Man, Hillbilly Kobe's cooking both of them for sure. Jordan Poole, he's like a Chris Middleton in a sense. No bad bitches, mid. And then you go through this cycle of no baddies. All of a sudden, there's one. Boom, he's playing like prime Michael Jordan, man.
God damn.
What's Jordan Clarkson? He's just a light-skinned Kobe told to stop playing like one,
Hey, but let's be real here. Jamal Crawford cooks all of them.
Oh, yeah. Jamal Crawford was the ringer in that for sure.
Jamal Crawford cooks all of them.
Like, Jamal Crawford is so unfuckwittable when it comes to, like, bag shit. And we all hear the story. He never showed his 10 best moves and all that. But, man, I'm going to just say it here. They need to rename that award the Jamal Crawford Award.
I agree. I agree with that. 1000%.
What did they name it?
I don't think it has a name, right?
No, I think it's the...
no, it's the John Havlicek Award. Oh, yeah. I don't give a fuck about John Havlicek.
Yeah. Bob Cousy didn't have no left hand.
The 50s, they dribbled like how little kids dribble.
Yo, I don't know what that was, bro.
Just like the kind where it's just like you're bouncing the ball for the sake of that. You can only bounce it with the one hand, and you don't know what it means to cross over to the other hand.
I'm dead.
Yo, we should do a little subsection. This is way off topic. A little subsection on NBA players as females.
Smash or pass.
Smash or pass Kelly Oubre as a female, yo.
Man, of course smash. This is a guy.
How about Ben Simmons?
Out on my screen, bro.
Pass on that, yo. I mean,
dude, that's hilarious, bro. Yo, that one was wrong, dog.
Hell no.
Wrong.
Yo, Ja Morant?
See, that doesn't count. Look up John Morant's sister.
No,
Yo,
man.
that's gonna seem.
Let's end it there, man. Let's end it there, bro.
No, that's crazy. You want to do a section like that?
Yo, they call it the Christian section.
Damn.
Actually, be like Christian mingles.
Smash or pass.
Oh, that is insane. Well, y'all got anything to say before we end it here?
I'm good, man. Love y'all. That was good.
Love y'all too. Christian?
Nope, I got nothing.
He says he
Alright.
doesn't love us, bro. He didn't say it back.
From the man who's smashing Jimmy Butler.
Guys,
Stay
No.
safe, stay blessed. We'll see y'all soon.